Welcome to Galaxy Brains.
An infinite amount of cash.
I'm your host, Alex Thorn.
The U.S. banking system is sound and resilient.
Bitcoin made a new all-time high.
If you're not long, you're short.
Satoshi's going to come on there, laugh hysterically, go quiet, all Bitcoin's going to be erased.
Bitcoin's the best crypto out there.
Bitcoin is going to zero.
Welcome back to Galaxy Brains. I'm your host, Alex Thorn, head of research at Galaxy. Bitcoin not zero, and it's a huge week. It's Bitcoin's national political convention week, it turns out. Yes, I'm in Nashville. I'm currently at Bitcoin Park, but I am in Nashville this week for the Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin 2024. And we have an amazing guest for you, David Bailey, founder, CEO of BTC Inc., which owns Bitcoin Magazine. He is our guest, and we're going to get into it with what to expect this week from the conference, news emanating from the conference. It's going to be an exciting conversation. We'll also check with our good friend Bimnet of BB from Galaxy Trading, as always, to talk about markets and macro. Before we get into that, I need to remind you all to please refer to the link to the disclaimer in the podcast notes and note that none of the information in this podcast constitutes investment advice or an offer, recommendation, or solicitation by Galaxy or any of its affiliates to buy or sell any securities. Gosh, it's fun. We're down here on the ground. I'm in Nashville. It's starting to get chaotic. There's, as far as I'm aware, I'm personally aware of 7 sitting U.S. senators that are in Nashville for the conference. And there's probably more. It has become a big political issue, and there's going to be a lot of interesting news emanating for it. We'll get to that interview with David in a second, but first let's check in with Bimnet Abibi. Let's go now to our friend Bimnet Abibi from Galaxy Trading. As always, Bimnet, welcome to Galaxy Brains.
Thanks for having me.
So I see equities are down a little bit. Bitcoin is stabilized after coming down. You have the Ethereum ETFs, and I saw more Mt. Gox distributions. What are you tracking this week?
Tracking almost everything, but the biggest kind of thing impacting risk sentiment is tech stocks. NASDAQ is down 3%-ish today, which makes it the largest drop since December 22. And you've got some concerns around the semi industry. You've got concerns around just over concentration of kind of the top market cap names. You've got, what looks like a trend that's become exhausted. And you've got data in the US that's, started to turn pretty aggressively. I highlighted a couple weeks ago the ISM services being below 50, but, you've just continued to get kind of soft data. New home sales were weak today. And as a function of this kind of weak data, you've had bonds, rally. And so you're seeing 2-year yields at the low end of the trend. You've got, more than 2 cuts baked in for this year. So you've had kind of a repricing of the Fed policy path as a function of data. In addition, you had comments by Bullard, former Fed member, this morning that were dovish as well. So that's creating a little bit of a bid to bonds. And you've also had the curve kind of steepen. And so it's really kind of watching this intersection between softening data and trends and positioning that are correcting. And so everybody, as a function of just, the broader strength and momentum, had been getting long tech, had been getting short small caps, and you've seen an unwind of that kind of positioning. In addition, you've had a very strong rally in fixed income that I think has room further to go. And in spite of that, Bitcoin is holding up really well. And I think that it goes to kind of the big it speaks to how big the conference is this week, right? You've got a former president and a likely future president, DJT, speaking about Bitcoin at a conference. You've got the vice presidential candidate. You've got RFK Jr. And you've got, as you tweeted the other day, there's 7 sitting U.S. senators at Bitcoin Nashville. There are also
Those are just the ones I know of.
That's
also.
just the ones you know of. And there are rumors that Kamala Harris was going to potentially join, that Elon Musk. Long story short, Bitcoin is a political issue. There are tons of single issue voters, and I think both sides are awake to that reality. And no matter what is said or done at after Bitcoin Nashville, I can be confident in the fact that crypto is a mainstream issue. It's a bipartisan issue, and it's something that is going to get addressed by whoever wins the presidency. And all signs point to a loosening of regulations and just more openness for crypto. In addition, when you have days like today with NASDAQ down 3 and Bitcoin up 1, it only reinforces the idea that it is a diversifying asset. It is providing you a unique stream of returns. And if you really think about what the crux of like long-term investing, is about, is finding, these streams of uncorrelated returns and putting them into a portfolio. And so, I think, more days like today, and you're going to have people that are looking at NASDAQ as a big part of what they do. And, they're going to be thinking about Bitcoin more so. And then lastly, I just have to touch on the Ethereum ETF product. I think it's a major milestone for the industry to get this product through. And ultimately, I think this is going to help boost adoption. And there's strong arguments as to why it's also a good diversifier in a portfolio. However, I would like to highlight that there's still a ton of supply that is probably going to get redeemed out of the Grayscale product. They had $486 million worth of net outflows from that product, and so I do think there's going to be a little bit of pressure just from redemptions out of that ETF. But once you churn through that supply, you're left with a product that's going to have passive inflows that's roughly a third of the market cap of Bitcoin. And over time, I just continue to think that folks will just put this in their portfolio and it'll just start trending higher. And so short term, I'm cautious on ETH. I think Bitcoin's probably a better long going into the conference, but long term, I think this is great for the space. And if you see what Hester Pierce said last week, she said there's a path forward for in-kind creates and in-kind redemptions for the ETH product and for Bitcoin. And so as long as we get a new administration that's open to crypto, a little less hostile, I think these products are going to get better over time, and they're going to continue to provide diversified returns, and they're going to continue to draw new investors.
Yep, there you go. Bimnet Abibi from Galaxy Trading, my friend. An exciting week. Thanks for coming on Galaxy Brains.
Pleasure.
Let's go now to our guest, David Bailey, CEO, founder of BTC Inc., parent company of, among other things, the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. David, welcome to Galaxy Brains.
Yo, Alex, thank you for having me on your show.
Dude, it's been a wild ride for BTC Inc., by the way. We were talking before we started about Bitcoin 2019 in San Francisco at that old car dealership, which was, by the way, a great conference. That was 5 years ago. And I've heard that Bitcoin 24 in Nashville is going to be, I don't know, yet another step up for the conference that's been a staple.
Yeah, no, it's been, I would say the trajectory of our company and the story of our company has been about as volatile as Bitcoin. So, we're authentic all the way to the core. No, I mean, there's been so many chapters. I have a fake tell-all that I like to say one day I will publish, and the only thing I keep notes on is when something really crazy happens. I'll create like the title of the chapter, and then that's the only thing I kind of like log. And the chapter titles have gotten so insane that one of the people on my team the other day was like, you could never publish this because literally no one would ever believe that this was a real thing. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's the company's been through many ups and downs. The downs, it's yin and yang. Like you can't have one without the other, and it's the downs that shape you and create the dynamics necessary to have the ups. But right now we're going through a major up in the company, and not only will Nashville be successful, which we took a lot of chances on Nashville, and there was chances that we took that now we're able to calculate like was that a good decision or bad. We made lots of good decisions. We also made some decisions that probably cost us pretty big too. But overall, like this conference is going to be kind of set the stage for the next, I think, generation of our company and what our focus is going to be for this next cycle.
Yeah, absolutely wild. And we'll get into the conference at length, which is right around the corner. I went to college in Nashville, so I always love going back there. I went to Vanderbilt. And of course, Bitcoin Park is there now too, which is a sort of a big center of gravity. It kind of feels like you've now got, in the US at least in particular, New York, Nashville, Austin sort of elevating above. I see the pub key posters behind you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, man. I mean, Nashville's a cool city, and I feel like Bitcoin just naturally wants to do things that are like not, where we even if we're not, we like to pretend we're outcasts. So we got to go to like, the outcast cities. We got to be on the frontier. And so, Nashville, Austin, I think are good hubs for Bitcoin. Puerto Rico is becoming a great hub for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think what Rod has done at Bitcoin Park has been fantastic. And, the one thing we like to joke about at our company is like, we've gone through so many ups and downs. Like we've grown to 100 employees and shrunk down to 10 employees like 3 times. So it's like, the number of people that have worked at our company, it's like, okay, like a solid 1% of Nashville at this point has been orange pilled by former employment at our business. So,
I love that.
yeah, no, Nashville's fantastic, and we loved being there. We are going to keep the conference rotating locations, and it's really sad also that Nashville elected an ultra woke mayor. That's just like, we're not even going to be able to get the mayor to come to the conference, and the mayor of Miami is flying all the way to Nashville to attend the conference. So it's just like the juxtapose of like, the city we just left, the mayor's still coming. The city we're in, the mayor's like, F you guys, like won't even take a phone call.
Yeah, is that Francis Suarez coming again this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
Yeah, really cool guy. All right, I want to talk more about the conference, and then I'm going to ask David, you've also been in Bitcoin markets for a long time, some thoughts about some of the recent events and also where you think the market is going. But let's stick to the conference. I think the big thing on everybody's mind is that you guys had announced several weeks ago that former President Trump will be attending and speaking at the conference. And then, of course, I want to ask about the assassination attempt and how that's altered it. But let's just start before. I mean, what has it been like? Again, you've been evangelizing Bitcoin to people all over the country and the world for years now. If you had told me that this, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, that, Donald Trump, the former president, the, RFK Jr., Vivek, Edward Snowden would be headlining this year's conference, I would have, been shocked to hear that. How from your perspective, how shocking is it? Was it inevitable? But also, what's it been like working with this team and getting that arranged?
Yeah. So, and before we move on in the conversation, I just want to say, Alex, you're one of the, I'm not going to say few, but there's a very select group of people that have been at all the Bitcoin conferences from the beginning and have seen the transformation. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of that journey. I feel like, for those that just have been to one or watch from the sidelines, it's, they think of it as like a commercial event, but really like to get to where we're at right now, like it has always been a movement. And like that first conference was like imbued with like, this is a movement. And so, at our organization, that's still what it is to us. And so even though it's a big business now, I guess it's like at its core, it's like, we're trying to figure out how to take Bitcoin forward. And like Trump is really, I guess, the embodiment of us like driving for that mission. And this has been a grueling process to make this happen. I mean, this is, I found a tweet, actually, I put a poll out, should we have Donald Trump speak at the Bitcoin conference? And I tweeted that in March. There's a lot of comments that are like, that'll never happen, or whatever. But, we've been basically grinding on this. I've been grinding on this almost full time since then. And so, we have a core kind of team inside of the company that's been focusing on the execution here. This has been, like a crazy sales process. There's been so many components to this. And, at the end of the day, like for your audience, like I'm not a political person. I'm extremely cynical about politics in general. I'm not even allowed to vote in the presidential election. I live in Puerto Rico. But Donald Trump it's not about left versus right politics. As somebody at my company said the other day, it's like orange versus green politics. And Donald Trump is a vessel for us to let the game theory of Bitcoin play out. And it has already generated dividends. And it is going to generate dividends that are hard to even, comprehend or calculate over the next 4 years. And yeah, it's been extremely challenging dealing with the Trump campaign, not because they're hard to work with; they're great people there, but just like he's the most powerful person in the world. There's the massive, unbelievable attention on him. Every conversation I have that has anything to do with Donald Trump, people immediately run and go leak it to the media. My inbox is filled every day with 5 or 6 different mainstream media companies trying to get some angle. Like the vortex that is Donald Trump is insane. And every time I've gotten to spend some time with him, he's just basically fielding phone calls like nonstop from the world's most powerful and influential people. And it's like, how do you get, prioritization from someone where it's like, hey, Jamie Dimon is on the phone for you, hey, the head of Pfizer is on the phone, so,
Yeah.
So we've really had to sell hard, like our industry and what it can do for his campaign and administration, and then we've had to deliver on the promises that we've made, and that is that's the hard part. It's easy to say what we can deliver, but then they're like, the campaign, they're used to bullshit artists all the time trying to sell them shit. So it's like, okay, we only believe what's real, like what has been delivered, what's the momentum we're getting. And so, like, if you want it to progress, like, you gotta, show them the money figuratively. I don't mean literally, but figuratively, and show them the momentum. And thank God, like, Bitcoin is truly, if not the one of the top opportunities for the United States of America, because if it wasn't, we never would have been able to take it this far.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine the vortex. I love how you described that, the vortex that is Donald Trump. He's got his own center of gravity.
It's insane. I will make an offhand comment on a Twitter space, and someone will be listening. They'll quote me. That story will be repackaged 20 times, and then I'll wake up the next morning and there's some mainstream newspaper in China that's taken like 5 words that I've said and turned it into like 2,000 words on like Donald Trump's perspective on so and so, and it's just like, what in the world? Like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's wild. What do you say to critics that say, Bitcoin is cypherpunk? It's not supposed to be, Bitcoin, not necessarily the Bitcoin conference that you run, but in general, it's not supposed to be occupied by politicians, by power. How do you think about that?
They're not occupying it. They're not occupying it. Like, what are they occupying? Like, just because we're making the case to them that they matter and they should embrace it, it doesn't make it so. So, it's like Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whoever have zero influence over how Bitcoin works. It works the same today as it did yesterday, as it will tomorrow. So all we are trying to do is take the ideas of Bitcoin and the features of Bitcoin that already exist, articulate those features in a way that is compatible with their existing philosophy and ideology, and make the Bitcoin opportunity something that they can get excited about also. And it's not about, hey, Donald Trump, you forget everything you know about everything, okay? And now, let me read you the Cypherpunk Manifesto. That's not going to be productive. So it doesn't make what that says not true. It just that's not going to be productive. So instead, let's take all the parts that they don't want to know about or they don't care about. Let's just not focus on those parts, and then let's focus on the parts that are compatible with their message. And that's how we get them to advance the ball forward. And then, we will deal with what comes next as it comes. But we just got to keep the ball moving forward.
Yeah, he has said some really positive things about Bitcoin over the last 2 months. He was at the Libertarian Party's national convention. He said he would pledge to keep Elizabeth Warren's goons off your Bitcoin. Later, he met with you and others. I saw you had a picture with him, Amanda Fabiano, and was reported Bitcoin miners at Mar-a-Lago. And then he shortly thereafter said that He wanted Bitcoin to be made in America, and so apparently Bitcoin mining. And now you have in the RNC platform itself defense of self-custody, of the right to mine Bitcoin, opposing a CBDC. What's it been like, talking about those policies with them? Because these are effectively national policies related to Bitcoin, and I dare say seem like pretty good ones.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I think, first off, like I just want to point out to your audience that Bitcoin doesn't happen on its own. It happens because the people who are part of Bitcoin, they go and make it happen. And so we like to say, hey, like game theory, this is going to all happen. Correct. But we're not like victims of waiting for someone to come to some idea on their own. Like we have the capacity to go out and plant those seeds and nurture them and grow them. And I have been shocked to discover over time the impact that a very, very small number of people can have on the broader landscape if they have absolute alignment and focus and attention on something. Like the force multiplying impact that a couple hundred people with resources can have is unbelievable. And so, it's I would challenge the people like listening to this and people in the community broadly, like do not feel like you are just a passive observer of what's happening. Like 10 donors coming in with $844,000 a pop, which is a lot of money, but like in the scheme of things, 844,000 is kind of nothing. Also, like 10 donors can be the difference between the Democratic Party wanting to ban Bitcoin and the Democratic Party deciding, oh, we like it because it's money for the unbanked and for immigrants. The money and energy applied in a very targeted fashion can just create unbelievable amounts of leverage. So just like feel empowered to go do something. And with Trump, I'm not the only person who's been affecting them. There's the ingredients were there for this to happen. The environment, the stage was set, let's say, but it's a very small number of people that have moved this needle forward. And then from that kind of initial traction, we were able to snowball each kind of, let's say, success into the next success, into the next success. Oh, wow. I got a great response in Mar-a-Lago saying, I'm the crypto president and I like NFTs to, okay, you know what? Let's pardon Ross Ulbricht and say we're going to protect, custody to, wow, this got an incredible response. How does this integrate into our economy? Okay, let's bring in the domestic miners and talk about how this is going to affect, energy abundance and investing into America's energy infrastructure. Oh, wow, I love this stuff. Okay, well, and so you just keep kind of snowballing the effect. The next dominoes that have the next few dominoes to come have already kind of dropped. So, the people's awareness of the dominoes dropping is lagging to them actually dropping. And so I have a good sense of at least right now where we're at and where this is going. And I think that this is going to get massive. Yeah. And I think that what's been promised so far is nothing compared to what will come. I think that to your question of what's changed post assassination attempt, which what an insane situation. I was watching actually his speech live when it happened. I was like, oh fuck. There's so many things that could be said about it, but I think just in a practical sense, what's changed is that Donald Trump went from the likely president in a bitter competition to, I think now is widely seen as a landslide victory for the president, where he's going to take the House and Senate with him, and he's going to go into office with a mandate and control of all branches of government, and is going to be in the shot caller position to pass transformational policy change in America on issues that are a priority to him. And this issue is a priority to him. And so that is a very special set of circumstances that could not be planned, that have set up kind of a perfect storm for us to achieve things that maybe, we thought were 20 or 30 years away from being able to be achieved. And I think the knock-on second order and tertiary effects of, success from these next dominoes to drop, to come, will result in a massive acceleration of everything at a pace that even, I'm bullish. I tweeted this the other day, like I'm bullish, and like I'm definitely not bullish enough. Like the pace, like it just as a hypothetical, and this is a purely hypothetical statement. Like if the United States came out and said, we're establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and we are, going to have, X number of Bitcoin that we're gonna hold as a strategic asset of the nation. The response that would generate in every executive branch in every country in the world, in every central bank in every country in the world, in every sovereign wealth fund in every country. I mean, it's not like people are just going to sit around and wait for it to happen before they act. They're going to reposition themselves based on this new information quickly. Maybe not all of them, maybe just a few of them will do it quickly, but all we need is a few of them. And then it's just like, the dominoes, they just accelerate.
It is. It's like the game theory really at the nation state level is quite simple in my mind, right? I mean, if the United States were to buy Bitcoin or hold Bitcoin, they could simply not sell the Bitcoin they already have. Would maybe be a good start. You can imagine friend and foe saying, "Wait a sec, maybe we should do the same." Right? It's not even just
foes first. Foes first.
Yeah, it's a wild situation. Do you think that's where this is escalating towards? Because there's a lot of rumors going around of things like this, given what's happened.
Well, on the nation state level of this type of reaction, yes, absolutely. I've heard wild things. I heard wild things earlier this year coming out of China, and then recently I've heard like that they're already making moves as a direct response to Donald Trump's policy position on Bitcoin. And so, when the president says things like, "Hey, we got to dominate Bitcoin, or otherwise the Chinese are going to dominate it, and we got to make sure that they don't dominate it."
Right.
There's nothing more powerful you could possibly say to the Chinese to make the Chinese be like, "We got to go get into Bitcoin right away as fast as possible." Donald Trump's trying to keep us out. Like that's the most effective sales pitch that there is. So yeah, it's like, if we want to get the China to YOLO into Bitcoin, all we got to do is say we're stopping them. Get a certain person to say we're stopping them from YOLOing into Bitcoin. And what's also interesting about Bitcoin that I think is unique to it is like, it would be a little bit different if Bitcoin was an American phenomenon. And so, yeah, we got Donald Trump to embrace it, but all the Bitcoiners are in America and all these other nations are like, fuck that. It's not an American phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon. And in the same way that like we've infiltrated the inner ranks of, both political parties in the United States, Bitcoiners have infiltrated the ranks of every political party on every nation in the planet. I'm hearing from Bitcoiners that are in the inner circles of multiple presidents that are out there of huge nations, and they're aligned with us. So it's not like, we're out there like cold selling. We got inside guys in every executive branch in the world who are saying, "Hey guys, we really need to reassess our position really quickly. Look at what's happening in America." And so like the aligned interest component of this really accelerates. It really is our super weapon of being able to craft our message hundreds of different ways so that it is maximally effective to the person we need to hear it. So that's what on top of it, because it's like if we act together in unison, the price of Bitcoin is going to the fucking moon. I mean, this is the type of, when
Yeah.
people say, what's going to send Bitcoin to $1 million of Bitcoin? This is what sends it to $1 million of Bitcoin. So it's like, okay, well, everyone's financially aligned that, like, you know, success here is good for everyone. So, yeah. So, yeah.
How big do you think the
It's
conference
exciting.
is going to be? Yeah, it is exciting. How big do you think the conference is going to be? I mean, how is it going to be like overwhelming? Because I've been on Broadway in Nashville many times. Is it going to be a legion of 35,000 Bitcoiners going
It's
to
going to be like
Ricky's and Lonnie's?
20,000. It'll be like 20,000 people. So it'll be just, if you take out like the music festival from 2022, that was like 22,000 people. I think we had 4,000 people who just came to the music festival, so it was 26,000 total. So this will be just smaller than 2022. When I was mentioning earlier, like, okay, we went to Nashville, we mixed it up. Like, what was that? What did that cost us? Looking at the data, like it probably cost us like a number of people. But that's okay. There's a lot of new people that are going to be at this event. Like it'll feel overwhelming, but we've learned a lot of things over our event experience. And so like, I feel like, this will be a much better user experience than 2022 was, and comparable in number of people.
Yeah, our mutual friend Mike Germano from Bitcoin Magazine gave a great talk at the MicroStrategy conference that I saw about Bitcoin's brand, and I just wanted to sort of echo your point about the global nature of it. You've got all these pieces, these nodes on this network, the David Baileys and the Michael Saylors and the whomever else is right out here, all sort of pushing for Bitcoin in different ways, but to the same goal. How important in your mind it has been, because this to me seems like what is really the core of at least Bitcoin Magazine, one of your businesses, is empowering these various nodes. How diverse is the Bitcoin community opinion, the panelists, the speaker is going to be at, inside the big tent that is Bitcoin at the conference in your mind?
Oh, massive. And I mean, we have hardcore progressives. We have people who hate Donald Trump. We have, cypherpunks who are anti the entire political establishment, and they're, vomiting that we're having a politician come to the conference. We're going to have people in ski masks. We're going to have to figure out the ski mask situation. That might be a little bit of a sensitive issue this year. But I mean, we have, the constituency is so broad for Bitcoin. It's really such an interesting cross section, probably the most interesting cross section of any community in the world, to be honest. And when we're working these angles on developing, let's say, opportunities for the Bitcoin network at large, we're on the phone talking to billionaires, of completely different feathers and completely different parts of the country, different interests, different allegiances, et cetera, who would never talk to us. In a million years, we couldn't get on the phone with them, except when it comes to Bitcoin. It's like, okay, again, this alignment that exists. And so it's like, hey, person number X, we need you to work your Rolodex and find Y for us so that we can do Z in this situation. And they're like, okay, I'm on it. Like, and so it's like, where else do you get that type of coordination? It just doesn't exist, So
Not really.
So I just feel like, as I've become so through this process, I'm already orange pilled, but I feel like I've been like doubly orange pilled, that there's no way to defeat us. Like we are completely decentralized and distributed. There is no Hydra to kill, yet simultaneously the body works together in coordination with this kind of great alignment. And, there's really no one who is more than one hop away from a Bitcoiner. Basically every person on the planet knows somebody who loves Bitcoin. So this hive mind that we've created, I just don't see how it can be stopped. We're so much more powerful than the nationalism of a country. We're so much more, I mean, it's like our money, in the same way that our money is the best money on the planet, like the ideology and alignment of our community is equally as strong and hardened comparative to anyone else's. So like, I feel like, we are a religious faction that's growing at triple digit percentages year over year, that, as our religion spreads, our financial resources expand, equally. And so it's just like, how do you beat that? So I don't know. I feel like hyper Bitcoinization is coming much faster than people think, and I think that the institutions and the nation states that we thought would be completely eliminated, they're going to be part of that process. And there's going to be ones that are not going to make the jump. And then long term, who knows what happens? It's kind of like newspapers. Think about it like newspapers. It's like, okay, most newspapers weren't able to make the jump to digital. Some newspapers were able to make the jump, and they've really increased maybe their influence. The New York Times or the Washington Post have increased their influence in that transition. Will they be able to maintain that influence? 50 years from now, maybe that's a tougher challenge. But I think that our trajectory is going to be similar in the sense like there are going to be large financial institutions and countries that come along on this transition or they're early, and they're going to have a major role to play in like this kind of next phase. And in a broader sense, who knows where this exactly looks like 150 years, 100 years from now. But I think change is going to happen much faster than people think. You only need a couple big governments, countries that are aligned. Think about it again, the alignment factor we're talking about. Wait until the president of the United States is part of that alignment, that super alignment that has occurred. And it's like someone can pick up the phone and call Trump and say, Trump, I need you to open up your Rolodex and make X or Y or Z happen so that we can spread Bitcoin to this other nation. Like, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can't believe the level that it's come to. All right, David, I know you're busy. The conference is right around the corner. So just a couple more quick questions, a little bit more short-term focused. You had tweeted about Mt. Gox coins. This is on a lot of people's minds because we've started to see these coins finally be distributed to these exchanges like Kraken and Bitstamp and whatever else. You made the point that funds like yours, UTXO Management, have been looking at and trying to buy these claims for a long time as one of the reasons why as one of the reasons why you don't think there'll be a lot of selling. What is that your view broadly, that Gox is going to be mostly hodled and not soddled? And also, is it just kind of coincidence, or is it just something beautiful that these overhangs, whether Mt. Gox or the other bankruptcies, appear to be sort of clearing right into this, new bullish phase?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I feel like it's divine intervention between Trump being kept alive, the biggest overhangs of Bitcoin in a decade being cleared, a halving occurring, the spot ETF being approved. We're about to have $18 billion or something like that in FTX cash claims paid out. Everything is aligned for something really special to happen this next this cycle. And to the point about the claims specifically, I think someone linked me to a thread you wrote. I thought your thread was beautifully done and very smart. I think that like the selling that is going to occur from these coins, like a lot of people who've been buying them, they're institutions that were just trying to turn. They already had a Bitcoin position. They're trying to turn one Bitcoin into 1.1 Bitcoin, and their time preference was such that like, hey, that trade made sense because they're just not planning on selling the coin. So, so I think like those buyers are just going to hold, and those are some big buyers, and institutions like value plays like that. And so there's a very heavy weight of institutions in this mix. And then I think those that are maybe that were running an ARB strategy and like maybe they are going to sell. They're going to sell intelligently. This is like it's different in my opinion than like a recent bankruptcy of a retail platform where the users get the coins and they're like, I've been waiting for this money to pay my mortgage and I need to sell now. And it's just like, mass sells. They're going to be very, I think, maybe they've already sold. Maybe they've already, hedged out the position totally. Like sophisticated players are going to be smart about what they do. Yep. And I think, there will be some amount of users that kept their claims, got paid out, and hey, want to realize some returns. But like, Brian Estes, who's a big claim buyer, made the point. He's like, I'm not sure the amount of selling of of these coins is going to exceed the amount of cash that was distributed. Like, so I think it's kind of I think the net effect is like it's not going to be a big deal. And then like the macro view on the situation is like this was the number one FUD factor for a decade, and we just cleared it like nothing. And so like wow, like that's what's bullish out of all this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to let you go because I know your phone is ringing, David. I cannot wait to see you and everyone else in Nashville. It's going to be quite a scene. They always are. That you're right. They've been great every time. And it was that one year we couldn't do it in 2020 because of COVID, but then 21 was that blowout out in Wynwood in Miami that was just an absolute crazy one that I think at the time was the largest event in the world during COVID. So they've been great ever since, and you're taking it to new heights, David. So thank you for that.
My hope is
can't wait.
This event is going to be like 2021. Like this is going to be the next 2021-esque experience, and I'm excited to see you there. I'm excited to open a new chapter in Bitcoin history, and I think for any of your listeners that are on the fence about coming, what do you got to lose? As Donald Trump would say, what do you got to lose? So, I'll see you in Nashville.
All right. David Bailey, founder, CEO of BTC Inc., Bitcoin Magazine, UTXO Management, and others. Thank you so much, David.
Hey, thank you, Alex.
That's it for this week's episode of Galaxy Brains. Thanks to our guest, David Bailey, founder and CEO of BTC Inc., and our friend Bimnet Abibi from Galaxy Trading, as always. Everybody enjoy, follow the conference, see what is said. We'll have a bunch of content coming out over the next couple weeks from the conference. Doing a lot of interviews for Galaxy Brains down here in Nashville. Phineas, my man, flew down with his equipment. We're going to be on the ground recording a lot, so check us out over the next couple weeks. And until then, have a safe and happy weekend. Thanks for listening to Galaxy Brains, the weekly podcast from Galaxy Research. If you enjoy the show, please like, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To follow Galaxy Research, sign up for our weekly newsletter at gdr.email, read our content at galaxy.com/research, and follow us on Twitter at GLXYResearch. See you next week.